Welcome to the archives. This edition of Gambling History and True Stories is brought to you by Our Casino Combat Podcast. Copyright 2025 Volcanic Dingo, LLC. All rights reserved.
Today, we're stepping into a place where fortunes are made and, let's be honest, more often lost in the most spectacular ways. Welcome to the Whales Graveyard.
Okay, let's just get right to it. $127 million. Now, that's not a company's stock price or a movie budget. That's how much money one single person lost in one city in just 1 year. It's a number so huge it almost doesn't feel real. So the question is, how on earth does that even happen? You know, this quote really gets to the absolute heart of the matter. The story we're about to unpack isn't just about a guy with terrible luck. No, this is a forensic case study of human psychology going head-to-head with a system that is meticulously, brilliantly designed to win. The real battle wasn't on the felt table. It was happening inside his own head. So, who was the man at the center of this absolute perfect storm? Let's dive into the incredible, cautionary tale of Terry Watanabe. See, Terry Watanabe wasn't just some random guy. He was a very successful businessman, the heir to a massive fortune from the Oriental Trading Company. But in 2007, he walked into Caesar's Palace and the Rio casinos, and over the next year, well, he went on a gambling binge that would become the stuff of legend, and for all the wrong reasons. To a casino, Watanabe was what they call a whale. And yeah, it's an insider term, and it's for exactly the kind of gambler every casino on the planet dreams of. We're talking about someone who bets big, bets often, and is so incredibly valuable that the casino will literally roll out the red carpet. They'll extend huge lines of credit, shower them with free gifts or comps, all to keep them happy, and most importantly, to keep them playing. But here's the thing about Watanabe's catastrophic losses, and this is so important. It wasn't just a string of bad luck. Not even close. It was, from the very beginning, a mathematical certainty. So let's dig into the cold, hard numbers that basically guaranteed this was going to happen. It all starts with this one crucial concept, the house edge. And the easiest way to think about it is like this. It's a small, built-in tax that the casino charges on every single bet you make, whether you win or lose. It's their baked-in mathematical advantage that ensures, over the long run, the casino always comes out ahead. It doesn't matter if one player has a temporary winning streak, the math is always on their side. And here's the kicker. Watanabe wasn't playing games with a tiny house edge. Oh no. He was drawn to games like roulette, which has a pretty hefty 5.26% edge, and high-limit slot machines, where the house advantage can be as high as 10%. He was basically choosing to pay the highest tax in the entire building on every single bet he made. So, you might be asking, well then, how does anyone ever win? And that comes down to the huge difference between two key ideas, variance and expected value. Variance, well, that's just short-term luck. It's the chaos, the unpredictable bounces that let you hit a hot streak and walk away with a win. But expected value, that's the long-term mathematical reality. It's like an anchor that always, eventually, pulls the results right back to that house edge. And this, right here, is where Watanabe's style of play absolutely sealed his fate. He was known for these marathon 24-hour-long sessions. By doing that, he was basically supercharging the law of large numbers. He placed so many bets for so many hours that he pretty much erased short-term luck from the equation. He played long enough for that mathematical certainty, the expected value, to kick in and just completely drain his bankroll. This quote just brilliantly sums up his biggest mistake. He believed that after a long losing streak, the law of averages just had to swing back in his favor. He thought luck was some kind of force of justice that had to even things out in the end. But here's the hard truth. Math has no memory, and it certainly doesn't feel any obligation to be fair. It just is. So if the math was an iron cage, then psychology was the key that locked the door and threw it away. The casino, which we'll call the operator, didn't just sit back and let the math do all the work. Oh no, they had a playbook, and they used it to make sure Watanabe never even thought about leaving that cage. Now, the operator isn't one single person. It's the casino's highly skilled player development team. And their entire job, really, is to understand the psychology of a player like Watanabe and use very specific targeted hooks to keep him at the table betting against his own self-interest. And here's exactly how they did it. Step 1. Total isolation. They created a whole custom ecosystem just for him. A private room, his favorite brand of vodka always on hand, constant personal attention. The goal? Remove any and every reason for him to leave. Step 2. The illusion of status. They cleverly reframed his staggering losses not as a failure, but as a badge of honor, the mark of a true high roller. And third, they weaponized the sunk cost fallacy, subtly reinforcing his own mistaken belief that the only possible way to get his money back was to just keep playing.
It's a tragic story for sure, but it holds an incredibly powerful and universal lesson. I mean, if the math is unbeatable and the psychology is a trap, what's the only real tool a player has? Well, it all comes down to a concept called exit velocity.
I mean, just look at this matchup. On one side, you've got the player, with a bankroll that has a limit. It's finite. On the other side, you have the house, with a bankroll so deep it's, for all practical purposes, infinite. It is an unfair fight from the absolute get-go. So, how do you possibly survive?
You survive with exit velocity. And this is, arguably, the single most critical skill any player can ever have. It has nothing to do with reading cards or pulling a slot machine lever. It is a disciplined, pre-planned strategy to leave the table. That means setting a hard limit on how much you're willing to lose. That's your negative exit. And just as important, setting a target for when you'll walk away with your winnings, your positive exit. So the crucial takeaway is this. The casino's ultimate advantage isn't really the house edge. It's the fact that it never, ever leaves the game. Its doors are always open. Its timeline is infinite. It can and it will outlast any player who tries to beat it with pure endurance.
And that brings us to the final critical question that this whole cautionary tale leaves us with. And really, this applies not just to gambling, but to investing, business, pretty much any situation that involves risk. The house is permanent. You are not. So you have to ask yourself, what's your exit velocity? And that wraps up this deep dive. This content was provided compliments of our Casino Combat podcast. Copyright 2025 Volcanic Dingo, LLC, all rights reserved. And a final reminder, this is for entertainment purposes only. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-800-GAMBLER. Win more, keep more, and we'll see you in the lounge.